On this episode of the International Festival Virtual Edition, we're going to travel to Mexico and visit with the Rivera family and hear about their Mexican heritage and the traditions that they are passing down from generation to generation. Now let's find Mexico on our map. Let's go!
We're the Riveras. I'm Raymond, and this is Monica. My parents are originally from here, so we've had a couple of generations here, but the heritage has still been strong. Monica, she's got deeper roots in Mexico, so because she's first generation.
Both my parents are from Mexico. My dad came over when he was 12 years old with my grandparents because they said there was a lot of jobs in the U.S. So they went to Wisconsin. And my dad went to Mexico. I think he's like 23 or so. He went to Mexico to visit his grandparents. He ended up seeing my mom. He's like, "Who's that girl?"
Real life novella.
My great-grandfather went over to my mom's house. And what they do over there, they took like a big basket of a whole bunch of food and bread. They took over blankets and they went to go ask for my mom's hand in marriage. My dad did call my mom prior to this and asked her if she would want to get married to make sure, because they only knew each other 3 weeks. My mom said yes, and they got married 3 months later. And they've been married for 49 years.
In our Mexican heritage, there's a lot of things that we're known for, but what we really appreciate is the family. The family.
We love to celebrate and eat.
When we have family gatherings, it's never a small gathering. There's always a big event, and then every family looks forward to when it's possible, and it's a quinceañera. Those are practically more important than weddings. And it's a coming of age. But there are a lot of church values behind it.
During a quinceañera, the young lady will receive jewelry. They all have a representation leading to the Lord. But it's just really nice. It's a time for a family to get together. We dance, we eat. There's a church ceremony, which is, I think, the most important part. It's just a lot of fun.
Growing up, in Hispanic family, faith was very important, and the same was her. And I think that, in general, has helped whole families stay together because we were all centered around one thing.
After when I was pregnant, I went looking for churches, and I found St. Cuthbert.
We come from two different religious backgrounds. She's Catholic, and I was raised Pentecostal. And finding that compromise was difficult at first, but when she found St. Cuthbert, we both agreed that that was the perfect church for us. We loved it ever since. We have been at St. Cuthbert for
24 years.
24 years. So it's going to be very difficult to get rid of us.
Making flour tortillas. 2 cups of flour, maybe a little more. Then we're gonna need about a teaspoon of baking powder, almost a tablespoon of salt, then about a third to more than a fourth of manteca. Animal lard. To me, it tastes better than Crisco. You can use Crisco or vegetable shortening. Break up the manteca and the flour. And if you could pour some of the water in there for me. My grandma Mary taught me how to make this with Crisco and lots of salt. Definitely lots of love. Oh yeah, she did not use measurements at all. Pour some into the center. There's 1,000 recipes out there. I like this one the best. My grandma Mary, my dad's mama, used to make this. She told me the way to test it if your masa is good is by eating it raw. I do not like eating it raw. You make sure you knead this well and press it down so it's all well combined to a good ball where there's no more crumbles. If it's still crumbling a little, you can add probably a little bit more water. And now you're gonna need a bowl. Just hold it in there. Get some of that excess flour. And then you're gonna need to cover it for 20 to 30 minutes and put to the side in a warm, dry spot. Now that the manteca is all ready and well combined, you can take it out and get a little bit of flour. Don't put away your flour. The countertop. Knead it a little bit, and then you roll it out into balls. My grandma told me to just grab it with your fist and roll them up in a ball and put it aside. However thick you want your tortilla, bigger the ball. But for sure, my family likes big tortillas so they can have big tacos. I mean, who wouldn't like big tacos? And we get the comal ready, nice and hot, to about a medium or medium-low heat. Now I make myself a little flour spot because you're going to be using a lot of flour. Get your pan, flour that up too. To help get your tortillas a little bit rounder, make them a little bit wider. And pull them out. My grandma likes to dip them in the flour like such, and then keep rolling them out, because then they'll stick to the table, and you don't want them to stick to the table. They're not all going to be perfectly round like this one here. I don't know what state that's going to come out to, but it's going to taste delicious. And you want to roll them out to where you can just barely see the table below. You let them sit at least maybe 30 seconds, depending on how hot you want your skillet or your comal. When they're starting to get little bubbles here, that's okay. You only really need to flip it once. I pick it up with my hands, but I prefer, for safety reasons, use a spatula. Let it cool down a bit and put it on the plate.
It's good stuff. And the fresher it is, the better it tastes. Good job, Mija. It's called champorado. Hispanics have chocolate milk, but they have something that they use is called abuelita. And it actually is a dark chocolate that has cinnamon infused with it. So it makes it a little bit more spicy and a little bit different taste. The champorado takes it up to another level. Some places say you can use water. We're going to use milk. We'll start off with 8 cups. We're going to heat it up. We don't want to scour the milk because what we're going to put in there is piloncillo. Basically, it's Mexican raw sugar. You always see it in these cones. They're always in this shape. And what you do is you're going to put this in there. And you're going to put a cinnamon stick in there. My wife likes cinnamon, so I put 2 of them in there. And we're going to wait for that to heat up. And it's going to start to almost come into a boil. But what you're trying to do is have that all melt in there, which will take some time. These are solid chunks. And they're thick. You actually literally have to break them, and they crack, and now they're broken into pieces. That way it'll kind of help them melt faster. So you can still see there's still some large chunks in there, so we got to make sure it all goes in there. And once it looks like it's all in there, start adding the thickener. You see how it's gotten thick. Mix it thoroughly, and then we let it simmer for about 5 or 10 minutes. And that way it'll set and thicken up even more. And once that's done, it's ready to be served. So after you let it simmer, you're going to see that not only is it chocolatey, but it's also really thick. So
We made Mexican rice, a green pork guisado, frijoles a la chara. It's a typical Mexican meal. And of course we have our homemade flour tortillas.